We have all heard Benjamin Franklin's quote, when you fail to prepare, you're preparing to fail. And that's true. But there's one more addition that is important to it. Because a lot of times we prepare and prepare and prepare and prepare, but there is no action around it. And all that preparation becomes is a mess of plans on paper and ideas in your head that never actually amount to anything valuable. That's wasted time, and that's a failure too. And so we can add a bit to the saying and say, by failing to prepare, you're preparing to fail. But by failing to act on that preparation, you are guaranteeing failure. Today, we are going to learn how we can make sure we guarantee success instead, so that we can prepare enough and also act on it and balance this tricky equation. There are two ways for you to work on any goal of yours. The first way is to just blitz right through it and make sure that you're not stopping anywhere. You're continuously taking action, you're working on a small timeline, and you're making things happen. And the second way is to take your time, to learn, to prepare, and to build something from the base up, even if it takes you a little more time than just straight up action would. Now, the thing is, we are masters at either one of these, but not at the middle path. The path where real progress actually happens, where action and preparation meet and come together in a way that brings the best of both of these forces. And I've been on both sides of this equation. When I wrote my first book, Explore the New You, I was in the blitz mode. In less than 50 days, I went from the book being an idea in my head to being a published book. That's right, in 50 days I made it happen, from writing the first draft to editing to formatting to publishing to cover design, every single thing. Was I fully prepared? No, but I learned on the job. I kept going, I kept moving, and through those actions I learned a lot of things. So that's the process of doing and learning. So learning by doing, that's the important idea there. You're just continuously taking action. And then the second process is where you take your time to research, to study, to prepare. And for the second non-fiction book that I'm working on, that's the process I'm taking. I started the process 3 years ago with a series of interviews I did with people all over the world. I talked to them for hours, and they were from many different backgrounds. I learned a lot from them. I understood what vision and purpose meant to them, what their life was about, what their goals were, how were they living up to it. And then I went into my own research mode. I studied different kind of research papers. I understood the neuroscience behind change, and I'm working on the draft. A lot of ideas are coming together there, and it's not final yet, and I'm taking my time to prepare and act, and that is also the second part of the process that I've seen. And now that I have had experience with both the fast action mode and the slow preparation mode, I can tell you one thing clearly. There is no better path. There is no right path. It all depends on who you are, what your goals are, and the kind of progress you want to make. And that is why the very first step in ensuring success is not action versus preparation, but being honest with yourself. Because a lot of times we are stuck in either of these modes because we are not honest with ourselves. Let me give you an example. So let's say there's this big project that you need to do at work. It's daunting, it's scary, and you're not feeling very prepared to do it. And so there are two things that you can do here. One, you can accept and be honest with yourself that you are not prepared enough. Take some time and build that preparation so that you can take action in the right way. Or you can let your fears take over and then stay right there. We are neither preparing nor taking action, but just coming up with excuses and distracting yourself from the project. But the problem with that is, the more you go away, the bigger the problem becomes. The more you run away, the harder it becomes to deal with it. And you have to make a choice. You have to decide whether it is better for you to just learn on the job and get started because the deadlines are tight, or is it better for you to learn first, to build that preparation and then act on it. But to make sure that you're taking that action, you also need to have honesty there, because a lot of times we feel safe in this preparation mode. We are not taking any real action. We are not feeling the burn of feedback that comes from the real world. We are not dealing with challenges or different kinds of people, but we're also working. And so that gives us a fake sense of productivity. While reading those research papers, or while reading those books, or while going through those 100 courses might seem like being productive, you're not actually being productive if instead of learning new things, you're just trying to keep yourself from taking action and doing the things that you need to do. But when we are in our heads, when our subconscious mind takes over, it becomes difficult to make these distinctions and to make these choices. So, how do we make sure that we are honest with ourselves and we can choose the right alternative for us? There are three simple questions that I like to ask myself. And the first one is, what are my incentives here? You see, incentives are a really powerful tool that our minds use to control the actions that we take. There's this quote, I don't remember exactly, but I'll paraphrase, and it goes something like this, that for the person whose job and bread and butter depends on lying or not telling the truth, that person will not tell the truth and they will lie because that is where their incentives are. That is where they will feel that they've done the right thing for themselves. And there's nothing inherently wrong in that. It's just survival of the fittest as play. That's basic evolutionary biology. But the truth is, a lot of times we don't know what our incentives are. And because we are not aware of them, we make perverse choices. We make the wrong decisions. And when we make those wrong decisions, we often leave a lot of room for regret and very little room for joy. We don't want that to happen, right? We want a lot of room for joy and no room for regret at all. And the first step to that begins with awareness, even if it feels painful at times. So you have to ask yourself, what are my incentives here? When I wrote my first book, I was clear. My incentive here is to just take action and to make things happen because I had a deadline. I wanted to publish the book by 1st December 2020 and I would not break that promise to myself. And so I got into the action mode, I chose the first path and I made it happen. For the second book, I put quality over time. I knew that I wanted to learn a bit more. I wanted to research and I wanted to talk to different people. And I also knew why I wanted to do that, because it would build my understanding better. And because I was clear on those incentives, I was able to make that choice and take that time to go deep into the research process. You have to question yourself the same way. Now, let me give you an example of what would happen if my incentives were not right and they were coming from fear. If I were not honest with myself, I would have told that, oh, I need to research, I need to prepare, but I never would have gotten to writing the draft. Till now, I've written 5 drafts for that book. Now that is taking action. I'm doing the preparation, but I'm also taking the action. And how am I able to balance that? Because I know what my incentives are and what I truly want. If I wanted to run away from writing, or if I wanted to run away from the pressure or from the fear that was inside my head, I would have done a lot of preparation, but no draft would be there, no writing would have been done. And that is an important distinction, which brings us to the second question. How do you know when you're prepared enough? Now that's a tricky one because we never truly know it. There is no definitive answer or a black and white yes and no question that I can give you for that. It all depends on context and where we are in the moment. And so how do we make this decision? For me, 2 things have worked. The first one is trusting my intuition and my inner voice. Now I know that sounds a bit different or something that's not very definitive, but it works. And why? Because when you're honest with yourself, when you have these clear conversations with yourself, right, you give yourself and your subconscious a message that I can trust my thoughts, I can trust my ideas, I can trust my feelings because I know that they are coming from a place that empowers me. My incentives are right. I know that those thoughts and feelings are there to push me on the path to growth. And so when I understand that, right, it becomes easier to trust the voices that come from within me or the intuition that comes, and that makes knowing this easier. So a lot of times when I'm reading or when I'm preparing or when I'm taking on any new challenge, I ask myself, is this preparation enough? Like, if I had to get started on this right away, would I be able to do it with the information I have? And if the answer and the inside feeling is yes, I stop consuming information and I get started first, and then I move into the doing by learning mode. The second way to answer this question is a bit more mathematical. You get to calculating the place where learning more does not really accomplish more, and that is by understanding and calculating where does more knowledge stop equaling to more growth. And this is an important point because it happens in economics and in business as well. We see this all the time. So for a lot of companies, saving costs on building their products makes sense, right? The less cost it takes to build a product, the more profit you can make. But after a certain point, trying to save costs increases the costs in and of itself because it's not really affecting the products anymore. It's so small, the returns on that saving are so tiny that the effort and the time and the resources it would take are actually much more than the saving it would bring. And so those are the point of diminishing returns, as we call it in economic language. But in simple words, that is understanding when more does not actually equal to more. There is that difference. And so for yourself, or when you're in the preparation zone, how do you know that more is not equal to more growth? That is when you ask yourself this question, that what I am learning now, is this adding to my growth? Is this going to change the way I act on this today, tomorrow, day after? And if the answer is no, you know that you're at the point of diminishing returns, and it's okay to stop the preparation and go into action. And this applies to the other side as well. When we're in the constant action mode, we think more is equal to good. More action, more hours, more effort, more pushing, and we'll break through the glass ceiling. But that is not the truth. We need to understand the point where more action does not equal to more growth, and we need to step back, assess where we are, go back in the preparation zone, and then come back stronger with new direction and new ideas. So this applies both ways, and this is a very simple question. How do I know when information or action is enough and I need to start taking action, or I just need to take a step back and go into reflection? Again, all of it hinges on the honesty that you have with yourself. And finally, we come to the third question that helps us balance this equation, and that is, if I had no fear and if I could not fail, would I still search for information, or would I just take action? Now this is a very interesting point, because a lot of times we hide in preparation because it is safe. The fear of failure is not there, and we think that if I have more information, I will be able to take action better, or my fear will go away. More often than not, that is not how it works. The fear is still there, the confusion is still there, and your brain is actually thinking less powerfully because it is overloaded with information. And so when you ask this question, you're taking a step back, and when you answer it honestly, you get to understand what your incentives are. Because if your incentive is running away from fear or from failure, you will instantly answer yes to this question. And if that is not the case, if you would still choose to prepare, then well done. You know what your priorities are and you are taking action on them. And this is what matters the most. I hope this video was able to give you a new perspective, because as we're engaging in more dialogue online, we're losing the importance of context and nuance. What we're doing is we're dividing everything in the world into black or white, yes or wrong, correct or bad, whatever it is. And the problem with that is we get stuck in either two of these modes. So you'll see people who say, you don't need to prepare at all, just take action, you already know everything. And then you will see a group of people who say, you don't know anything, you need to learn, you need to prepare, or otherwise you will not be able to make any progress. And the thing is, both of them are right and both of them are wrong, because nothing in the world is universal. Everything depends on you. I hope you can understand that today and build that nuance for yourself. These are 3 questions that helped me the most, and I hope that they help you as well. Write in the comment section what your answers are. I would love to read them and I would love to give you feedback on them as well so that we can grow together. And if you have any questions, you can write them in the comment box below too. Thank you so much for watching this video and taking your time. I hope it is helpful and I hope you're able to take the right action for yourself right after watching this video. Thank you.